Today, I want to talk about passion for what you do and combining prepared mixes with a freestyle mix style. This is Share the Knowledge.
For the last 22 years, I've been rocking stages, playing in clubs, and having a lot of fun as a DJ and turntablist, and I've seen and learned a lot. Now it's time for me to share that knowledge by answering the questions that can help you become a better DJ. I'm djTLM, and this is Share the Knowledge.
Guys, what's going on? It's your boy djTLM. You're watching or listening to Share the Knowledge. This is my Q&A podcast for DJs where I answer questions that I find online. Now, if you want to ask me a question for a future episode, you can reach me on social. The handle is at djTLM. Ask your question and add the hashtag Share the Knowledge. Now, I have a couple of things I want to talk about, and as always, I will have a Facebook live stream Q&A session going on as well. So I have some questions coming in on Facebook, and I'll talk about those questions in a second. That's going to be like halfway through the show. When I want to start off with a couple of topics. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is a comment that I saw, and that was a comment on my Your Thoughts video. Now, if you're not familiar with that video, it's a new video concept that I'm doing, and it is about questions or topics that I don't have an answer for. So I always like to talk about the things I know. I share my experience with you guys. I also want you guys to share your experience as well. That's what Share the Knowledge is all about. And I try to retain from talking about things that I don't know enough about. But what I wanted to try and do now is really make it even more of a community effort. And sometimes when I receive a question that I don't have an answer for, I'm going to still make a video. I'll talk about the topic or the issue, and then I'm going to ask you for your thoughts. So if you have experience with that topic, then you can just share your 2 cents and maybe help some people out. I get to learn something from you as well. So for me, that's always a good thing. Now, in this case, the Your Thoughts video was about a DJ who was DJing in China, and he's playing 7 days a week at the same club, same style of music every night for the same crowd. And this was kind of getting a little bit boring for him, which I can totally understand. If you're playing 7 days a week, exact same party, same club, same crowd. So I just asked the people to share their thoughts, because I never had a gig where I was playing 7 days a week at the same spot. Now, he got great feedback. He even hooked up with some people in China, so the community was in full effect. Loved seeing that. And I saw one comment, and the comment was, it's very important that if you're doing something 7 days a week, you have to have a passion for that. I agree. If you're getting bored, you don't have a strong enough passion. Now, this is the part that I had to disagree with, and I also shared that with him or her, no, him in the comment section. Here's the thing. I totally agree, and I believe that every one of you has to find out exactly what it is that you love to do and do that. That is the most sustainable thing when it comes to doing something for a long time. Of course, we all want to make money. We all need to make money. We all have bills. I totally get that. But at the end of the day, if you want to be happy, you want to make sure that you're doing something that makes you happy. The reason why I've been DJing for 25 years and I've had my ups and downs like all DJs will have is because this is what I love to do. That is why I was able to do it for such a long time. Otherwise, you probably quit after a couple of years when things don't go as well. And I totally agree with that. But when it comes to playing at the same club every day of the week, same exact music, same crowd, if you get bored, I don't feel that has anything to do with passion. And here's the thing, and I gave this example. I did some corporate gigs a couple of years ago, so no clubs. Of course, I do more private events, but like some corporate gigs where it's actually like a corporate get-together or even like a corporate Christmas party for a certain company. And at most of those gigs, I did not have a good time. I was not feeling it. Either the crowd was just not a crowd you could really party with the way I like to play. The type of music they wanted to hear is not really what I like to do. So that was not for me. You have plenty of DJs out there that are perfect for those parties. They can play any style. They like to play any style or don't care what they play as long as people are dancing. For me, that's not why I became a DJ. That's not where my passion is. And I could feel if I'm going to do a lot of these gigs, I'm going to stop loving DJing. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm staying away from those gigs. And I feel that's a great decision for me personally. You have to find out what works for you. But I can totally understand if I was to play at the same club every day for the same people, playing the same music, and I don't have the freedom to switch it up and make it like a theme night where I could do different things, I would lose interest as well. I still have passion for DJing, but I became a DJ not to play the same stuff every day, 7 days of the week. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that as well. How do you feel about that? And, yeah, share that. So the second thing I wanted to talk about, so check out that video if you have any experience with that 7 days a week gig life. Maybe you can help that person out as well. So I received another question, and the question was, I was wondering how I should prepare for my first DJ set at a rave. I play out, and when I do play, I do freestyle, but I have a feeling that I should prepare for this rave as it will be the biggest crowd to date. I don't want to prepare the whole set and just hit play on stage, but I was wondering what I could do to help make my set smoother while still freestyling a bit. And even adding anyone else is welcome to comment as well. I love that, man. Getting that community vibe going, asking other people to join in. My suggestion for that is if you want to play freestyle, so you like to play without prepared sets, but you feel that certain gigs might need a little bit extra attention or you want to make it extra smooth, a great solution could be to prepare a couple of mini mixes, so short mixes. So you're not going to prepare your entire set, but maybe have, 3 mixes that are like 10 minutes long when you perform them. You set those up, you prepare them so you can perform them very clean, and you have those ready. Now, if you know in advance what type of people are at that party and you know what type of music they like, that's even better. And then you could start with one of those 10-minute mini mixes. So you're not pressing play, you're actually performing the mix, but you practice that mix, and most likely that's going to be a smooth mix. That's a great way to set it off when you're playing your first big party, because now you're building that confidence, because those first couple of mixes are going to go well because you prepared those. Now, after that mini mix, your confidence is up, the crowd should be up, and you can continue to play freestyle from that point. Now, just as a backup, you have a couple of more of those mini mixes ready. So maybe if you play for like 15 minutes freestyle and all of a sudden you just don't have that connect, you're missing out on what the next track needs to be, maybe you grab one of those mini mixes and you do another prepared little set. So that way you can still add your freestyle element to your set, read the crowd, see how they react, but you have that backup of knowing that you have a little prepared set that even if the crowd's not feeling it 100%, is going to make your mixing smooth, and that's going to boost your confidence. So that could be a good thing to do. I know I had a couple of gigs where I know that it would have gone better if I would have had like one or two of those short mixes. It would have improved the overall set. So I would do something like that. That would be a good thing. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about, this is an issue that you'll see and hear a lot. Now, this is not going to be a discussion about what's better, and in this case, we're talking computers, but over the years, I've had this question arise in the comments section many times. Mac or Windows computer? Now, for me personally, I'm using a MacBook Pro right now. Before that, I had a Lenovo for a couple of months, but before that, the last 8 years, it was a MacBook. But I started to DJ on a Windows computer. You can use both. Let me just read the question. So the question is, what are the pros and cons of Mac versus IBM computers? So let's just say Windows computers. Besides, most of the popular DJ software utilize a Mac platform. What, in your opinion, is good for an intermediate DJ to get back in the game with? And I mean, without having a lot of issues in the software. So, great question. I understand if you want to get back into the game now, you most likely want to start playing digitally. So you're looking for a laptop. Now, a couple of things. First of all, let's start with the most important thing, and that is budget. If you're on a tight budget, you probably want to stay away from Mac because Mac is more expensive. That's just what it is. Now, if you are looking for a Mac, but you are on a budget, you could look at secondhand, refurbished Macs. They could be great, and they will cost you a lot less. I'm actually using a MacBook Pro that I bought last year in 2016, and that's a MacBook Pro from 2013. So it's an older, refurbished MacBook Pro. Works great, cost me a lot less than a new one. So that is an option. So your budget that's the most important thing. That's where it starts. Now, if you know that your budget is not ready for Mac, then we're already there. Then it's going to be a Windows computer. You have a lot of options, a lot of brands. So a couple of things you need to look at. First off, know what type of DJ software or maybe production software you want to use. Check the website, see what the minimum specifications are. So you need to know what type of processor your computer needs to have, what type of memory, how much memory, and how much RAM, work memory. Once you know that, you can start looking and find a computer that fits those needs. Windows computers can work fine. Setting them up is sometimes a little bit more difficult. And I've had more issues starting with Windows computers when I started to use different software, because a lot of times when you grab controllers, you need extra drivers and stuff like that. It's not a major hassle, but sometimes you have to work out a few more things before everything works. But once it works, it works. So that shouldn't be a problem. So pros and cons, we don't have to get into all of that. Start with your budget. And I know Macs are reliable. That's what I like about them. I like the whole Mac ecosystem. That's why I work with it. But when I didn't have a budget, I used a Windows PC and made that work too. All right. I'm going to answer like one or two more, and then I want to get into the live Q&A from Facebook. So I have a question here, and the question is, I've been working on this DJ grind for about 2 months, and I'm so impatient and I want to start getting gigs, but I obviously know it's not that simple. Do you have a checklist every DJ needs to tick off before they can start performing at gigs? And secondly, what's the best way to get gigs at nightclubs? Now, the second part, that's going to be too long to get into right now. I'm sticking to the first part right here. If you've been on this DJ grind for 2 months, that means that you just started. Now, I'm not sure if this means that you started to practice like 2 months ago. If that's the case, I would say you're probably not ready to start doing shows, but of course, I can't really judge that without seeing or hearing you. But 2 months is nothing. 2 months is absolutely nothing. It took me a lot longer before I started to do gigs at clubs. I know that for a fact. Now, a checklist every DJ needs to tick before they know if they can start performing at gigs. All right, let's start with the basics. You need to know how to DJ. So you need to know the technical aspect. Can you count music? Can you beat match? Can you match tracks? Do you have knowledge of the music that you have? Simple things like that. Do you know how your equipment works? That's where it all begins. That's what you practice at home. Once you're past that and you know how to work that equipment and you can do a proper mix, then you need to start practicing in front of people. So I'm not talking about gigs necessarily. That means with your friends or like a house party, stuff like that. Because playing in front of people is totally different than playing in your bedroom. So there's no specific list, but you need to be able to do all of that, because once you start practicing in front of people, then you start about learning how you read the crowd and all of that. So there's a lot that comes with it. So I don't have a list for you, but if you're only 2 months in, I would give it a lot more time. If you started from scratch, then you probably still have a lot more things you need to learn before you get into that. I'll do a different show just talking about how to get gigs. There's a million things to talk about when it comes to that. I have one more, and I believe that's a long story, but I think this is pretty cool for some of you. If you're doing content online, like video content, DJ video content, on YouTube, for instance, that's where I started. I had a channel called djTLM, and I was posting mixes. So I would record myself mixing and doing a little bit of turntablism. I'd post that online as promotional content for myself. That became a little bit more difficult because, of course, not only YouTube, but a lot of the online platforms became pretty strict when it comes to copyright. So a lot of my videos were getting muted, deleted, because I was using other people's material. That's why I only use my own material on my current YouTube channel, djTLMtv. All the beats I use for my tutorials, tips, and tricks, everything is what I made, so I own it, so I don't have any issues with copyrights. But I saw something that was pretty interesting, and that was actually a comment on an old video I did called Problems with Copyrights on, I don't even think it was just YouTube, but also SoundCloud. And this is a recommendation from Jesse, and his recommendation is trying to get your original content in YouTube's Content ID system. Now, the reason why is because I'm a producer and I use a lot of royalty-free sample packs in my original material. The things about those samples is that I have a non-exclusive license to use those sounds, and that means other people can use them too. Now, I do a lot of that too. A lot of you might have production software that comes with a lot of royalty-free sounds, and you can use them, but everyone else who has that same software can also use those sounds. Like I use Machine. Machine comes with like 6 gigs of kits and loops and sounds, and you can use those in your beats. So here's the thing. What happens is that some other artists will use those sounds in their own original material, and that's all fine, but then their distributor will enter that material into YouTube's Content ID, which will make Content ID think those sounds belong to that artist. I never thought about that, but that's in fact the case. If you have Machine just like I do, and you make a beat with some of the sounds that come with Machine, and your song then gets entered into the YouTube Content ID system, if I make a beat with those same sounds, YouTube could recognize that beat and think that it's your beat that I'm using. And that's when you get into the whole copyright infringement thing, and all of a sudden my video is being claimed, and all of a sudden the monetization on my video goes to some other channel. Now, of course, I can dispute that, and I'll win that eventually if I send them email and explain what it's all about. That should work out. But that is definitely something to think about or be aware of, that even if you're making your own beats, but you're using like royalty-free samples, other people might use those samples and enter their material into YouTube's Content ID system. So I know for a lot of you listening to this, that might not apply, but if you are making beats and you're using them on your own channel, be aware of the fact that if you ever get like a copyright claim and you don't understand how that happened, that could very well be the case. I see a response to the Mac versus PC right here from Praveen, and he says get a mid-2012 MacBook Pro. It's cheaper and the last MacBook model, which is user upgradable. All right, that's a good point, because I have a 2013. I don't know if I can really upgrade a lot in this machine. Derek says, I've done a couple of corporate gigs, not fun. Yeah, I had that same sentiment. So, I mean, those corporate gigs can pay well. So I definitely did a few. But after a few, every time I was done with that gig, I was like, I did not have a good time. I didn't enjoy it. It did not give me the same satisfactory type feeling that I normally get at gigs. And let's be honest, that's why I'm doing this. I want to end my gig and be like, yes, I did what I love to do. That's why I'm doing it. And not sit there like, this felt like a horrible job. If I want a horrible job, I'll get a horrible job. That's not why I chose to do what I'm doing. What kind of DJ are you? Club DJ, mobile DJ, radio, or turntablist, or music productions? Diego, if that question is for me, I'm actually all of the above. Well, no, that's not true. I'm not a mobile DJ. That's the only thing I'm not. I am a club DJ. I'm a radio DJ. Not currently, but I've done radio quite a few years, did mix shows on radio stations. I'm a tour DJ for an artist, been doing that for over 19 years now. I'm a turntablist. I'm a mixtape DJ. I've released, I think, over 40 mixtapes. And I'm also into production. So I've produced for artists. Some of those things have been released over the years. And like I said, I make all the music for my own channel, my YouTube channel. And I released one single 2 years ago. So I'm all of the above. And yeah, for some DJs, it happens like that you're actually someone who does all of those things. And for other DJs, you're going to end up doing just like one. I have a question from Daniel, and the question is, are you going to do a Super Saturday session soon? Let me just reverse that. It is the Saturday Super Session, and yes, beginning of the year. Now, if you're not familiar, I do an interactive scratch session on YouTube called the Saturday Sessions. Now, I drop a beat. You can download the beat after the video is online, but I drop a beat. I scratch over that beat for a couple of bars. So, for instance, 4 bars. And the next 4 bars, I pause. The beat continues to play. And you, sitting at home watching, can use those 4 bars to scratch at home. After those 4 bars, I come back in and I do 4 bars. So basically, we're doing an interactive scratch session where we're scratching back to back. So you get to scratch with me through a video. Now, the Saturday Super Session is a little bit different because then I actually make a beat. I release that beat in advance. I'll let everyone download that beat. You record yourself scratching over that beat for a couple of bars. And you send me all those videos. Now, I've made like 6 of those, I think. And those are global scratch collaboration videos, basically compilation videos. And I think in the last one, I had DJs from, I don't know, like 60 DJs from 35 countries or something like that. So it becomes quite a major deal, and it is a great thing to do. So I'll be doing one in the first quarter of 2018. But I'll let you guys know in advance, like, hey, it's happening. Here's the beat, and I'll give you a couple of weeks to record yourself and send the video. Do you listen or like Afro pop music? That's actually a genre that's being popularized here by a lot of the new rappers. They're using a lot of a combination. Their music, it's hip hop, it's rap music, but it's a combination when it comes to the production of Afro beats, dancehall, hip hop, and a lot of auto-tune vocals in there. I actually like the sound of a lot of African music, but it's not something I really listen to myself a lot currently. But yes, I definitely like the sound. How different is it to scratch on Pioneer DDJ SX2 versus turntables? And is an innovator really worth it? Now, there is a major difference between turntables and controllers without moving platters, and the major difference, of course, is the moving platter. A moving platter on a turntable just adds an element to it. It's a totally different feeling. Now, having said that, if you learn how to scratch on turntables, you can scratch on all controllers. I've scratched on a lot of controllers. The SX is a pretty cool controller. I like it. When it comes to scratching, you can definitely scratch on it, but it is still, for some controllers, a piece of rubber. On other controllers, a piece of metal or plastic that doesn't move. So the feeling will never, to me, be as good as a turntable. That's why I like controllers like the NS10 series, which had like the moving platter. Denon had the SC3900. And of course, now I'm waiting for those Rain players. I think they're called the V7. I definitely want to know how those feel. But there is a major difference in the feel. You don't get any feedback from your controller. It's just you're moving it, but it doesn't have the same feeling at all. When it comes to innovators definitely work. Are they worth it? It all depends on where you want to apply it. Certain controllers or mixers just don't have good crossfaders for scratching, and then an innovator is a great solution. Other mixers already have good crossfaders by themselves. I mean, my DJM900 SRT has a Magfell fader in there. That's not a scratch mixer, but I did most of my scratch sessions for YouTube with that mixer. It's definitely not anything like what's in my S9, but it works, and I don't feel the need to put an innovator in that. But with certain controllers that I tried out, I definitely switch to innovator if I wanted to use those because I like to scratch. If scratching is not really your thing, there's no need to add it. All right, I'm about to end today's episode, so I want to give the people on Facebook a big shout out for adding questions to the live Q&A. If you're listening to the podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud, thanks for tuning in. Leave a comment in the comments section. If you're checking out the edited version on YouTube, thanks for watching. And as always, the conversation will continue in the comments section, so you can always ask more questions there. I will be there to reply or take your question in for the next episode. And make this a community effort. If you see someone ask a question and you know the answer, feel free to help them out. That's what it is all about. Let's share that knowledge. Now, if you want to ask me another question, you know where to reach me here on social. The handle is at djTLM everywhere. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of updates there as well. And you can always email me, djTLMtv at djTLM.com. Subscribe to SoundCloud, not just for the podcast, but I also do, you can catch all my scratch tools and free beats there that you can use to practice your mixing and scratching. All right, that's it for this week. I'll be back next week. Peace.